Have you ever had the quiet feeling that your life is meant to be more than the routines you repeat every day? For many people, life begins with a clear structure. You follow expectations, complete responsibilities, and move through the same cycles of work, obligations, and daily habits. At first, this rhythm feels normal. It feels like the natural way life is supposed to unfold. But eventually, something begins to shift. There comes a moment when the familiar pattern no longer feels complete. You start noticing that repeating the same routines, chasing the same goals, and following the same path no longer gives you the sense of fulfillment it once did. On the surface, nothing may appear wrong. Your life may look stable. Your responsibilities may still be in place. Yet internally, something feels different. It can begin with a simple thought that appears unexpectedly. A quiet question that asks whether this is truly all there is, whether life was meant to be lived only through routines, obligations, and expectations placed by the world around you. And once that question appears, it becomes difficult to ignore. Many people who begin experiencing this shift describe it as a subtle inner pull. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not always arrive with clear instructions. Instead, it feels like a quiet awareness growing within you, a sense that something deeper may be waiting to be discovered. You may start feeling a stronger desire to live with meaning rather than simply moving through the motions of everyday life. You might feel drawn toward understanding yourself more deeply, questioning old beliefs, or exploring ideas that help you see the world from a new perspective. At the same time, you may notice that your attention begins to move toward things that feel more purposeful. Conversations about growth, knowledge, or the deeper nature of life may suddenly interest you more than surface-level distractions. You may feel curious about your potential, wondering what kind of impact you could make if you followed the path that truly resonates with you. These experiences are more common than many people realize. Throughout different stages of life, individuals often reach a point where they begin questioning the direction they have been following. What once felt automatic becomes something they start examining with greater awareness. And when that happens, an important possibility begins to emerge. These feelings may not be random. For many people on a path of awakening, this inner pull is often described as the beginning of something deeper. It can be the first signal of a higher calling, a quiet invitation from within that encourages you to grow beyond the version of yourself that has been shaped by habit, expectation, and routine. A higher calling does not necessarily mean a dramatic mission or a sudden life change. More often it begins with awareness. It begins with the realization that you may be capable of more than the life you have been living so far. It is the sense that there is a direction meant for you, even if you cannot fully see it yet. The challenge is that many people feel this inner signal, but are unsure what to do with it. They may sense that something meaningful is calling them forward, but they do not know how to recognize it clearly or how to begin connecting with it. That is exactly what we are going to explore in this video. Today, we will look at 3 powerful ways people begin connecting with their higher calling. These are not complicated techniques or sudden revelations. Instead, they are shifts in awareness and behavior that gradually bring you closer to understanding the purpose that may already be emerging in your life. Once you begin recognizing these signs, you may start to see your own experiences differently. Moments that once felt confusing may start making sense. The inner pull you have been feeling may begin to reveal its direction. Before we go deeper into this topic, take a moment to support the channel. If this message resonates with you, make sure to like this video so more people can discover it. Share it with someone who may also be searching for a deeper sense of purpose. And subscribe to the channel for more content about awakening, personal growth, and the journey of the chosen ones. One of the most important things to understand about a higher calling is that it rarely begins with something dramatic in the outside world. Many people imagine that discovering their purpose will come through a powerful event, a sudden opportunity, or a clear message that instantly reveals what they are meant to do. They expect purpose to arrive in a moment that feels obvious and undeniable. But in reality, the earliest signals of a higher calling are usually far quieter than people expect. For many individuals, the beginning of this journey does not appear as a loud announcement from the world around them. Instead, it appears as a subtle shift inside their own awareness. It often begins with a feeling that something deeper is calling their attention, even though they cannot fully explain what that something is. At first, this feeling may simply appear as curiosity. You might notice yourself thinking about life in a different way. Questions that never seemed important before may suddenly feel meaningful. You might begin wondering why certain things in life feel empty, while others feel deeply fulfilling. These questions are often the earliest signs that something within you is beginning to wake up. For a long time, many people move through life following paths that have been shaped by society, culture, and expectation. They pursue goals that are widely accepted as successful. They focus on achievements that promise stability, recognition, or financial security. There is nothing inherently wrong with these goals. In fact, they can be important parts of building a stable life. However, there often comes a moment when a person begins to realize that external success alone does not automatically create a sense of purpose. You may find yourself achieving things that once seemed important, yet still feeling that something is missing. The satisfaction you expected from those accomplishments may fade more quickly than you anticipated. This realization can be confusing at first. You might question why things that should feel rewarding do not bring the sense of fulfillment you imagined. You may even wonder whether you are simply expecting too much from life. But in many cases, this feeling is not a sign of dissatisfaction. It is actually a signal. It is the beginning of an internal shift where your attention starts moving away from external definitions of success and toward deeper meaning. This is often the moment when a higher calling begins to make its presence known. Instead of feeling satisfied with simply following the paths that were given to you, you begin feeling drawn toward discovering something that feels more personally meaningful. The motivation behind your actions slowly begins to change. Rather than asking what society expects from you, you begin asking what truly resonates with you. During this stage, another important pattern often appears. You may start noticing that certain topics, ideas, or causes consistently capture your attention. Perhaps you find yourself drawn toward helping others in specific ways. Perhaps you feel fascinated by subjects related to personal growth, knowledge, creativity, or healing. Maybe you feel inspired by stories of transformation, or by individuals who dedicate their lives to something meaningful. These interests can feel strangely persistent. Even when you try to ignore them or focus on other priorities, they seem to return again and again. This is not accidental. Often, these recurring interests represent clues pointing toward your deeper direction. They reveal the types of problems you feel naturally motivated to solve, or the kinds of experiences that bring out the best in your character. Your higher calling does not usually appear as a completely foreign idea. More often, it grows from qualities and interests that have been quietly developing within you for years. Think about the moments when you feel most energized or inspired. These moments often provide valuable insight into what truly matters to you. When people are aligned with something meaningful, they experience a different kind of motivation. The effort they invest no longer feels like an obligation. Instead, it feels like a natural expression of who they are. This is why the earliest signals of a higher calling are often emotional rather than logical. You may not yet understand the full direction of your purpose, but you begin to feel a strong internal response to certain ideas, opportunities, or areas of growth. Sometimes this response appears as excitement, sometimes it appears as curiosity, and sometimes it appears as a quiet sense of recognition, as if something within you is saying that this direction matters. Another important sign that often appears during this stage is the growing discomfort with living on autopilot. You may notice that repeating the same routines without reflection begins to feel unsatisfying. Activities that once passed the time may begin to feel empty. Instead of feeling content with simply maintaining the same patterns, you may feel a desire to understand why you are doing what you do. This shift marks an important step in connecting with a higher calling. When a person begins questioning their routines and motivations, they create space for awareness. They stop living purely out of habit and begin observing their life with intention. Through that observation, deeper insights begin to appear. You might recognize talents you previously overlooked. You may realize that certain abilities come naturally to you in ways that could benefit others. You may also begin identifying values that feel deeply important to you, even if they are different from the priorities of the people around you. All of these discoveries gradually reveal pieces of your larger direction. However, connecting with a higher calling requires one essential skill: the ability to listen. In a world filled with constant noise, distractions, and external opinions, it can be easy to ignore the signals coming from within. People often become so focused on meeting expectations that they lose touch with their internal guidance. Learning to reconnect with that guidance takes patience and awareness. It often begins with slowing down enough to notice what truly resonates with you. Instead of immediately dismissing your curiosity or inner urges, you begin exploring them with openness. You pay attention to the ideas that inspire you, the activities that make you lose track of time, and the problems that you feel genuinely motivated to solve. Over time, these patterns start forming a clearer picture. The direction of your higher calling may not appear instantly, but the signals pointing toward it become stronger and more consistent. When you begin listening to these signals, you also begin trusting yourself more. Instead of relying entirely on external validation, you start recognizing that your inner awareness can guide you toward meaningful choices. This trust becomes the foundation for everything that follows, because ultimately, connecting with a higher calling does not begin with discovering a perfect plan. It begins with recognizing the quiet signals that have already been present within you. And the more you learn to listen to those signals, the more clearly your path begins to reveal itself. Once a person begins recognizing the inner signal of a higher calling, the next step involves something far more practical. Awareness alone is not enough. The realization that something meaningful is calling you forward must eventually influence how you live your life. This is the stage where internal awareness begins translating into external alignment. At first, this shift may happen gradually. You may start noticing that the way you use your time begins to feel more important than it did before. Activities that once filled your schedule automatically may start to feel less meaningful. You may begin asking yourself whether the things you invest your time and energy into are truly helping you grow. This question is often one of the first signs that alignment is beginning. For many people, life becomes filled with routines that were never consciously chosen. These routines develop slowly through habit, expectation, and convenience. Over time, they shape daily life so completely that people rarely stop to examine whether those patterns still serve them. But when someone becomes aware of a deeper calling, those automatic routines start to feel different. The mind begins to evaluate them with greater awareness. Instead of simply following what is familiar, you begin asking whether your habits support the person you are becoming. This moment of reflection can lead to powerful change. You may realize that some habits have been consuming time and energy without contributing to your development. Certain activities may feel entertaining, but ultimately leave you feeling empty. Other routines may keep you comfortable, but prevent you from exploring new possibilities. Recognizing this does not mean you must completely abandon your current life. Instead, it invites you to begin adjusting it in ways that create space for growth. One of the most important adjustments during this stage involves how you choose to invest your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Wherever your attention goes, your development follows. When people are fully absorbed in distractions, their awareness remains scattered. Growth becomes difficult because their energy is constantly divided between many unimportant influences. However, when someone begins aligning their life with growth and awareness, they start directing their attention more intentionally. You may begin spending more time learning about topics that expand your understanding of the world. Reading, studying, or listening to ideas that challenge your thinking may become more appealing than passive entertainment. You may find yourself reflecting more deeply on experiences and lessons, rather than simply moving past them. Reflection becomes especially important during this stage. Reflection allows you to understand your own patterns. It helps you recognize which choices move you forward and which ones keep you stagnant. When people take time to reflect on their thoughts, behaviors, and goals, they begin gaining a clearer sense of direction. This clarity gradually strengthens the connection between your daily life and your deeper purpose. Another important part of alignment involves your environment. Human beings are strongly influenced by the environments they spend time in. The conversations, attitudes, and expectations that surround you shape how you think and behave. If a person remains completely immersed in environments that discourage growth, it becomes difficult for their higher calling to develop. Limiting environments often reinforce familiar habits and discourage exploration. This is why many people who begin experiencing inner transformation eventually feel the need to change aspects of their surroundings. This change does not necessarily require dramatic action. Sometimes it begins with small decisions. You may start spending more time with individuals who encourage learning and personal development. You may seek out communities, conversations, or resources that inspire new perspectives. At the same time, you may gradually distance yourself from influences that consistently drain your energy or discourage your progress. These adjustments may feel uncomfortable at first because they disrupt familiar patterns, but they are often necessary for growth to continue. The same principle applies to habits. Habits shape your identity over time. The actions you repeat each day gradually form the person you become. When someone begins aligning with their higher calling, they often start evaluating their habits with greater intention. You may begin asking whether your daily behaviors reflect the direction you truly want your life to move in. If the answer is no, you may feel motivated to change those behaviors. This does not mean transformation happens instantly. Meaningful change usually occurs through small, consistent improvements rather than dramatic overnight shifts. You might start dedicating time each day to learning something new. You might develop routines that encourage reflection, creativity, or physical well-being. Over time, these small practices strengthen your ability to stay connected with your deeper goals. What matters most is not the size of each step, but the direction it moves you. Another important element of alignment involves awareness itself. Awareness allows you to observe your thoughts, emotions, and reactions more clearly. Many people move through life reacting automatically to situations. Their decisions are often driven by habit, fear, or external pressure, rather than conscious intention. But when awareness expands, you begin recognizing these automatic responses. You notice when fear tries to discourage you from exploring new possibilities. You notice when doubt attempts to convince you that growth is impossible. You begin observing these reactions instead of immediately obeying them. This awareness gives you greater freedom in how you respond to life. Instead of allowing old patterns to control your behavior, you begin choosing responses that align with the person you are becoming. Over time, this conscious decision-making strengthens your connection to your higher calling. Your actions begin reflecting your deeper values. Your time begins supporting your growth rather than distracting you from it. Your environment begins encouraging exploration instead of reinforcing limitation. As these elements align, something important begins to happen. The direction of your higher calling becomes clearer. Purpose often reveals itself through experience rather than theory. When people actively engage in growth, they encounter new opportunities, new insights, and new challenges. Each of these experiences provides information about where their path may lead. For example, you may discover abilities you did not realize you possessed. You may find satisfaction in helping others solve certain problems. You may recognize that certain types of work or creativity feel deeply meaningful to you. These discoveries rarely occur when someone remains trapped in old routines. They emerge when a person begins exploring life with curiosity and intention. Alignment creates the conditions necessary for these discoveries to happen. Instead of waiting passively for purpose to appear, you begin shaping a life that allows purpose to emerge naturally. This approach removes much of the pressure people feel when searching for their calling. Many individuals believe they must identify their life purpose immediately before they can begin moving forward. In reality, the opposite is often true. Purpose becomes clearer when you start living in a way that encourages growth. Each step toward awareness opens new possibilities. Each adjustment in your habits and environment strengthens your connection with the direction you are meant to follow. Over time, the signals that once felt subtle become stronger. You begin recognizing which activities energize you and which ones drain you. You understand which environments support your development and which ones hold you back. You become more confident in making decisions that align with your deeper values. This confidence is not based on certainty about the future. Instead, it comes from trusting the process of growth itself. When your life begins aligning with your evolving awareness, your higher calling no longer feels like a distant mystery. It begins to feel like a direction you are gradually moving toward every day. Once someone begins recognizing the inner signal of a higher calling and starts aligning their life with growth and awareness, a final step becomes necessary. That step is action. Awareness and alignment create the foundation, but purpose truly begins to unfold when a person chooses to move forward, even when the path ahead is not completely clear. This is the stage where many people hesitate. They may feel the pull of something meaningful inside them, yet they remain uncertain about what to do next. They may believe they need a perfectly detailed plan before they begin. They might feel that they should wait until every step of their future becomes visible. But the reality is that a higher calling rarely appears in that way. Purpose is rarely revealed as a complete map. Instead, it unfolds gradually as a person begins walking forward. The direction becomes clearer through experience, rather than through prediction. Many people misunderstand this process because they expect clarity to arrive before action. They believe they must understand their entire mission before taking the first step. However, the opposite is usually true. Action is what creates clarity. Think about any journey that leads to growth. Whether it involves learning a new skill, pursuing a new career path, or developing a deeper understanding of yourself, the process rarely begins with perfect certainty. Instead, it begins with a willingness to explore. The same principle applies to discovering your higher calling. When someone begins acting on the inner signals they have recognized, they start gathering experiences that reveal more about their direction. Each step forward provides new information. Each attempt teaches something valuable. Sometimes these lessons confirm that you are moving in the right direction. Other times they reveal adjustments that need to be made. But either way, movement brings insight. This is why waiting for complete clarity can actually prevent growth. If a person refuses to act until every detail of their path is known, they may remain stuck in the same place for years. The path becomes visible only through participation. Imagine trying to navigate a dark road at night with a small light in front of you. The light may only illuminate a short distance ahead, but that small area of visibility is enough to keep moving forward. As you continue walking, the light reveals the next portion of the path. Purpose often works in a similar way. You may only see the next step clearly. The rest of the journey may still feel uncertain. But when you take that step, new opportunities, experiences, and insights begin to appear. One of the most important ideas to understand at this stage is that you do not need to have your entire life figured out before you begin. Very few people ever reach a moment where their entire future suddenly becomes clear. Instead, meaningful lives are built step by step. What matters most is that the steps you take feel authentic to you. Authentic action means choosing directions that resonate with your values, your curiosity, and your desire to contribute something meaningful. These actions do not have to be dramatic or life-changing at first. In fact, they are often quite small. You might begin by exploring a subject that consistently interests you. You might start sharing ideas that you believe could help others. You might dedicate time to developing skills that feel connected to the direction you sense inside yourself. Each of these actions represents movement, and movement is powerful because it creates momentum. When people begin acting in alignment with their inner signals, they start building confidence in their ability to navigate uncertainty. Confidence does not come from knowing everything in advance. It grows from experience. Each time you take a step and learn from it, your trust in your own ability to adapt becomes stronger. This confidence allows you to continue moving even when challenges appear. Because challenges will appear. Every meaningful path includes moments of difficulty, doubt, and adjustment. There may be times when progress feels slow. There may be moments when you question whether you are moving in the right direction. These experiences are not signs that your path is wrong. They are natural parts of growth. Every step forward teaches you something. Even the experiences that seem like mistakes often provide insights that shape your future decisions. Over time, these lessons begin forming a clearer picture of where you belong and what you are capable of contributing. You may discover strengths you never realized you had. You may find yourself drawn toward opportunities that you could not have predicted earlier in your journey. You may even meet people who play important roles in helping you develop your path. None of these discoveries would have been possible without taking the first steps. This is why action is such an essential part of connecting with a higher calling. A calling is not just something you feel, it is something you respond to. When you respond to that inner pull with movement, curiosity, and effort, You create the conditions that allow purpose to reveal itself. Another important aspect of this stage is learning to release the fear of uncertainty. Uncertainty is often interpreted as danger, but in the context of personal growth, uncertainty often means possibility. It means that your future has not been limited to a single predictable outcome. It means that your path has room to evolve as you learn more about yourself and the world around you. When you accept this perspective, uncertainty becomes less intimidating. Instead of waiting for certainty, you begin trusting your ability to learn and adapt as you go. Each action becomes an experiment, each experience becomes a lesson, and with every lesson, your understanding of your purpose becomes stronger. Eventually, you may look back and realize that what once felt like confusion was actually a process of discovery. The steps that once seemed small and uncertain may turn out to be the very experiences that guided you toward the life you were meant to create. This is why the third stage of connecting with a higher calling emphasizes movement over perfection. You do not need a flawless plan. You do not need absolute certainty. What you need is the willingness to begin. When you move forward with curiosity, awareness, and authenticity, the path gradually reveals itself. Purpose is not something that appears all at once. It is something that grows through the actions you take, the lessons you learn, and the courage you show when you continue moving despite uncertainty. And over time, those steps lead you closer to the life that was waiting for you to discover it. Because in the end, purpose is not found by standing still and waiting for clarity. Purpose is discovered through movement and action, not through waiting for certainty. As we reach the end of this discussion, it is important to reflect on the central idea behind everything we have explored. The journey toward a higher calling does not usually begin with dramatic events or sudden revelations. More often, it begins quietly within your own awareness. It begins with a feeling that there must be more to life than simply repeating the same patterns, following the same expectations, and moving through routines without deeper meaning. If you have been feeling a strong inner pull toward growth, purpose, or understanding, that feeling may not be random. For many people, this kind of inner signal is the first sign that they are beginning to recognize a deeper direction in their lives. It is the moment when awareness begins shifting from external expectations toward internal truth. Throughout this video, we explored how that process often unfolds. It begins by recognizing the subtle signals within yourself. Those signals may appear as curiosity, dissatisfaction with shallow goals, or a persistent desire to understand life more deeply. From there, the next step involves aligning your daily life with growth and awareness. When you begin investing your time and energy into learning, reflection, and personal development, you create the conditions where purpose can begin to reveal itself. And finally, we discussed the importance of action. A higher calling rarely becomes visible all at once. The path toward purpose usually appears gradually, through the experiences and lessons that come from taking meaningful steps forward. Each decision, each challenge, and each discovery contributes to a clearer understanding of who you are becoming and what direction your life is moving toward. It is also important to remember that connecting with a higher calling is not always simple or immediate. There will often be moments of uncertainty. There may be times when you question whether you are moving in the right direction. Growth requires patience, self-awareness, and the willingness to continue exploring, even when the entire path is not yet visible. But those who choose to listen to that inner calling often discover something powerful along the way. They begin building lives that feel more authentic, more intentional, and more aligned with who they truly are. Instead of simply following expectations, they become active participants in shaping their own journey. Over time, the small steps they take begin to form a meaningful path. What once felt like confusion becomes clarity. What once felt like curiosity becomes direction. And the inner signal that once seemed subtle becomes a guiding force that helps them move forward with confidence. The truth is that everyone has the potential to connect with their deeper purpose. It does not belong only to a select group of people or to those who appear extraordinary from the outside. It becomes accessible to anyone who is willing to listen to their inner awareness, commit to personal growth, and take action, even when the future is uncertain. If you have been feeling that quiet pull inside you, consider it an invitation rather than a mystery. It may be the beginning of a journey that leads you toward greater understanding, greater impact, and a life that feels truly meaningful. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video so that more people can discover this message. Share it with someone who may also be searching for their purpose. And subscribe to the channel for more content about awakening, personal transformation, and the journey of the chosen ones.